Everyone, this is Andrew from Private Investigator Advice, and I'm going to I wrote an article, but I'm going to make a video because I got a message from a reader who was struggling with keeping, her camera steady when she's videotaping during surveillance. So I'm going to share some techniques to help her and help you to have your video be a little bit steadier when you're out there conducting surveillance. So, the first tip I'm going to share with you, and I didn't actually pick up this tip until, not 6 years ago. It was from another private investigator. I'd done something similar to this, but nothing like this specifically, and that was to use little sandbags. Now, these things, I found them on Amazon. I ended up buying like a box of them, but they were just so cheap. I just picked up the whole box. It was like, I want to say like 20 of them. Do you need 20 of them? Probably not. But anyways, they're just these little sandbags here. And it's just to kind of show you what it's capable of. Now, like if I'm videotaping out the front window here, right? Let's say I want to do that. And let's say I'm not using a tripod. Sometimes you're going to be in a situation where you just want to look out your front window and maybe you want to stick your camera on your dash. And that's fine. And sometimes you might like stack things on your dash to, bring your camera up to a certain level, but it's difficult to get your camera to be even or, level. And so that's where sandbags come in, where it's going to be steady and you're going to be able to put your camera steady or level. So for instance here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. So you should see this somewhere on the screen here, what I'm about to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and start my camera here. And so I'm going to go ahead and stick it on this little sandbag here and kind of position it the way I want to, and it's going to be a steady camera. Now I had a few sandbags, so it's going to raise my camera up a little bit, and then it's going to stay steady. Because they're sandbags, it's a steady stable platform. So that would be one of my first tips. If you're using an awkward area, maybe it's the seat up here, you put some sandbags on your seat and help adjust it, and that's going to get you some steady video documentation. Okay guys, so one of the frustrations that this reader had was that she had the Manfrotto Action tripod, which I'm glad she picked up, but she said even with that she had a hard time panning and keeping it smooth. And with, she's right, it's a little bit difficult. It's not, these tripods are more for kind of on the go. They compact really small, but they're completely capable of having a smooth panning motion. And what you really got to do here, and I'll just kind of over here, you got this wheel, you really got to play with that wheel a little bit. You got to find a nice tension on it to where you can slide back and forth and be able to pan easily. So I'm just going to give you an idea here. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to go ahead and start recording here. Now, one of the things, so you should see it on the screen over here, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and adjust my tension here. In fact, and this one's a little tight here, so I'm going to just a little bit more. And you got to play with it. It's going to see whatever's going to fit you, but you just want to be able to follow somebody nice and smoothly. You got to just kind of be able to be in a position where you're not rushed, and you can just kind of slide it around, because it's not really in a position to where it's just only going to go left or right. This thing will wobble all around. I'll kind of show you that if you let it. So you want to make sure that you keep it steady, and you just take your time with it as you follow somebody, and it still will look smooth. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time for you just to kind of show you, and you'll get to see it on the video itself here. I'm just going to, if you put it too tight, it'll feel kind of sticky where you're going to be like jolting. You don't want to do that. You want to be like kind of nice and smooth here. And hopefully your subject's far enough away to where you're not having to go really fast You can kind of do it from a distance, and you can go nice and easy as they're walking. You can follow. Okay, guys. So one of the things that you want to try to avoid, and this is what I wish I would have learned a lot earlier in my career, is to avoid, videotaping with just the camera being in your hand, because this is going to provide more shake and more kind of. There's going to be a lack of smooth video with your during surveillance when you're just trying to do everything handheld. Even the guys who have the steadiest hands still will kind of have shaky video and video that is just not smooth. So one of the I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quick. Like, here's the difference. I'm going to put a couple tips together here all in one here. So one of the things is, so I'm going to let me see. I'm going to focus on this little building here. Okay, and I'm going to try not to move. Okay. One of the things that happens, no matter what I do, even as smooth as I am right now, and I'm kind of moving a little bit as I talk to you, is I breathe. And when I breathe, these little movements, which you think aren't a big deal, especially when you're kind of panned out, they are more evident when you're watching it back, especially when you're in court. That's what I always think of. That's my fear, to have some crappy video in court. And so let me zoom in a little bit more here. Let me just get to this door just to kind of emphasize, what I'm trying to talk about here. So even though my arm's not moving at all, my body's moving. And so that will add movement to my video. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to videotape the same thing here. I'm not even going to turn off the camera. I just want, just to show you how different it is. And I'll lock it in there. Okay. Now you just saw what I was doing. I'm going to even zoom in even more. And this is to kind of just to show the importance of not doing these things hand-free. Okay, so I think you guys get the point on that. Alright, so as you guys know, that sometimes it's just not practical to be rocking a tripod all the time, so that's why I always recommend using the monopod, right? At least you have something stable to set it on, and you can rest it on your chair here, and that's fine. There might be a little more movement, or you can rest it on the ground. And that's what I like to do sometimes here. And we're gonna go ahead and use the same thing that we were doing here. And I'm gonna go ahead and videotape this structure here. I'm gonna try to be steady as I'm talking to you here. Okay, so that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on that door like we were just doing there. Get in there. And one of the things I want to emphasize here is, just like freehand, you want to try to avoid resting this thing on your body, right? Some people are like up in here, and they're all like, they still using it, but they're like, I'm using the monopod, but then it's resting against their body, and then when they breathe, it's going to move the tripod around. So we really want to try to keep it away from that. We want to just keep it as stable as we can. Not a whole lot of movement, cars off, and then just, focus on your subject. Assuming this door that I'm videotaping right now is my subject. I want to keep it as steady as we can. Sometimes I put my hand on the camera, sometimes I'll keep it down here. The reason I like to kind of keep my hand on the camera though is so I can zoom when I need to. I'm not fumbling around, but even keeping your hand down here a little bit lower, that's going to help keep it a little bit steadier. Okay? Okay, so sometimes we are free-handing it, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use it here. Sometimes we're not free-handing it, rather, but we're using the monopod, and so we're doing what we're supposed to be doing with that. And some cameras have more zoom than I do, so this is going to be a little more critical for some people than it is for me. I only have 57 times zoom on this camera. No, 32 times, 32 optical zoom. No, 32 optical zoom, which is what you want to stick around. The optical is going, and we can talk about that again later, is the best type of zoom. It's going to be the more, it's using the lenses to get the video versus using it digitally enhance it, but it has 57 times advanced zoom on this. And to be truthful with you, I don't know whether we are zooming in all the way into 57 times or 32, but that's not really the point. So the point of this is going to be when you have zoomed in so far, and sometimes, you know, every little situation is different. Sometimes you've just run back to your car and you're out of breath, and that out of breath is affecting the way the video is shaky. Sometimes, you know, maybe you've held your arm in a certain position because you're trying to videotape something specific. And so what I'm going to do here is, sometimes when I'm gonna play the part out here. Sometimes you're videotaping and you're just like, and I'm shaking my hand on purpose here just to show what would happen. That's when you want to kind of zoom out. I'm going to keep shaking my arm a little bit here and zoom out, and with the help of this camera, it's going to have image stabilization, so that's going to help me a little bit. But if you're getting the shakes right and you're zoomed in way far out, you want to go ahead and, like, if it looks like this, you want to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. You know what your subject looks like, not too much. And I'm going to go ahead and shake my arm now. It's not going to be as bad as I'm going to go ahead and keep shaking my arm as I zoom in here. So we don't want it super shaky. Actually, this camera's doing really well. I'm actually kind of proud of it. This is the Canon 600. But yeah, so just zoom out a little bit maybe, and then the shake won't be as obvious when you're videotaping. In fact, this is actually auto-correcting all my shakes right now. So you definitely want to get image stabilization on your camera, which most video cameras do. If you stick with the Canon line, like I recommend, the 600, the Canon HF R600, the R700, the R800, which I'm probably going to be getting pretty soon myself, you should be fine with all of this. Alright guys, we're coming to the end of the video here, and I really thank you for watching as much as you have so far. So we're going to recap on the tips here. You want to buy a video camera with image stabilization that's going to help you during those times when your hand's a little shaky when you're using a monopod. We want to avoid videotaping with it in our hand. We want to do that as much as possible. The other tip was you can use sandbags. Sandbags are going to keep it stable. You can really kind of put them on any surface, and they're going to keep your camera level. When you're not using a tripod, you should be using a monopod. I pretty much have my camera on a monopod at all times, unless it's going to be like a long duration. Then I stick it on my tripod, which takes me to the next one. Videotape with your tripod. So we talked about in this video how to kind of smooth out the panning motion with the Manfrotto Action tripod. If you have a better panning tripod, that's great. I just happen to like mine because it compacts so small and it's really rugged. Another tip is to turn off your vehicle. Don't forget to do that. We don't want it vibrating unnecessarily. And associated to that, when you're panning in deep on something and you start to get the shakes for some reason, go ahead and pan back out a little bit. We don't want to stop videotaping necessarily, but we just want to kind of pan back so that shaking isn't so obvious and so dramatic when it's all zoomed in. And the last one, unless I forgot another one, is we don't want to rest anything on our body. When we breathe, we go up and down. It's one of those things you can test on your own. Have the camera in your arm and you try to wedge your arm on your side and make it steady, but as you breathe, the camera rocks up and down. No matter if you're smooth breathing or you're heavy breathing, either way it's going to do that. So we want to try to avoid that. Keep it away from your body. Put it on something, put it on the sandbags, keep it on the monopod, keep the monopod away from your body, and that should keep things stable. So if I've forgotten something, I'll add it to the original article that I'm writing for this, and you can catch that tip in there. Thank you for the question, and I'll see you guys on the next one.